of celebration of all the things that have happened in Florida with Sunshine TESOL, because, you know, this year is the 30th anniversary of the consent decree. And of course, Sunshine TESOL just celebrated its 40th anniversary. So being a past president and having so much involvement with Sunshine TESOL, we want to pick your brains, of course, and get some takeaway from you. Now, you were president in 2002.
2002, no, 2003, you know, when the election was in May to the next May, yeah. And then I was also president because you remember Cheryl Bentz died.
I do. Yeah.
And I had to, well, I didn't have to, but it was the easiest for everybody involved that I just continued then, yeah. So I finished off about 11 months of the following year because she had been very sick and she passed away, yeah.
And indeed, looking back going all the way back to 1975, unfortunately, many of our past presidents have already passed away. And we've been busily interviewing as many as we can that we've found. And we pretty much found 99% of all our past presidents, even going back to Mary Jane Schenck, who is retired and living in St. Petersburg. She was our second president in 76. But let me ask you, Betty, when you were president, what are some of your memories that you've got from president back then? What were some of the things going on in Florida that were important to Sunshine TESOL?
Well, you know, the consent decree, of course, was a lot earlier than that, but we had begun to get some real neat position papers in place. And we got a lot of real good organizational skills going when Catherine Dunlop was president. I'm sure she probably told you about that. When Kathleen was president there, and what was the name of the girl that was also part of the task force to train teachers? I can't remember her name. A tall lady that was, a tall, skinny lady that was at the University of Florida. Can you see any of the, because I don't have any of that stuff.
I do have the past presidents.
It's the one before Dunlop, or was it the one?
The one before was Sandra Hancock.
No, Sandra was at a later time.
And then Marilyn Santos, Michael Kraft, Judy Jameson.
Yeah. I actually, she's the one, Judy Jameson. She was helping us a lot together when Catherine Dunlop was president in setting up our organizational manual where we have all the duties and everything going. So we kind of perfected that more or less. It really became a living document that we worked on all the time, yeah.
Which is what we're still using nowadays.
You still have a copy, I know. I mean, we pass it on now to everybody.
We do still have it, absolutely.
Yeah.
So getting to back, do you recall some of the position papers you guys were involved with?
We were involved with, I know for sure we were involved with adjuncts and the treatment of adjuncts, you know. So that was one part of some of the position instigations that we worked on. What was the year of Michael?
1998.
Yeah, that must have been when I got on the board. But before that, I was a member of it when it started, actually, because, you know, I started the TESOL as it is today, Sunshine TESOL, started after we had a different name for our organization, yeah. And the founder of that.
Tell me something about those early days and how it all came about, if you can remember.
Well, I enjoyed the organization very much. It was a little different from the Sunshine State in that it was less organized as what we are doing today. And that had a lot to do with also the electronic things coming in before everything was hand done and so forth. Yeah. But we had wonderful conferences. And then when we started with I participated in quite a number of them, because when I started working in '91 as an ESOL specialist, that's when I began to go to all of these conferences. Yeah. Then when I started with Michael, I had already done a lot of other things, but just like go for stuff, but not in the organization. I was not a member of the board or anything until Michael Kraft, yeah. So from then on, I was a member of the board until what, 2009? It's a long time to be a member.
It is a long time, absolutely.
So I have seen a lot of changes in wonderful organizational things going on, you know, that made it easier to be a member, to be a board member, to be in the executive section of, you know, in the higher echelon there with the president, vice president, etc., and everything. We had a secretary actually, and we did not get rid of her until much later, when all of a sudden we began to think perhaps we can do all of that ourselves and save some money. Yeah, that was while I was still president, I think, or just shortly afterwards. Yeah. I have played kind of all kinds of funny things. So, you know, I organized the Jubilee, the 25th Jubilee. I did the organization for our Hilton Hotel conference over in St. Petersburg. That was a lot of fun.
Nice.
And actually, it was a very successful one. It wasn't one of those large ones with a lot of people, but I think we were way over 400 or 500 at the time. This was a good number.
Right.
That was before we got into trouble, yeah. But I was only second vice president then. Yeah, I don't know how is the hierarchy today.
It's pretty much the same. It stayed the same.
If you was into the hierarchy, you started as second president, and that was the person who got stuck with the conference organization. Yeah, and then as a first president, I was in charge of the programming. Not the programming. What was it? I was doing all kinds of stuff, but it was a lot less than being a second vice president. And then I became first president as a president. And the life was much different because, you know, I was now more like a monitoring person, making sure everybody else did what they were supposed to do. But I enjoyed working with vendors at that time a lot. I became very close to quite a number of vendors because, and that was because I had that position in the school district where I was in charge of selecting textbooks and everything. And they like these kind of people, as you will probably know. Yeah, because they want to sell books. Yeah, so that was kind of fun. Yeah, that was conferences. But Southeast region, we always had participation extra when we had it in Florida. Yeah, and it was always a good organization. We had a liaison, and I was one of them at one time due to my being the president or past president, I don't remember, to the Big TESOL. And then I got involved in Big TESOL because of that.
So let me ask you, Betty, then, in terms of some of your favorite moments as president.
And now we are just talking as president, yeah? But I always enjoyed the conferences a lot because, you know, you get to meet all the members, you get to interact with the members differently, because for some reason, when you're the president, everybody wants to talk to you, and everybody wants favors, and they want this, that, and the other. So you got to meet people in a different way. But I think the thing that I liked the most, that was my time when I had to help look at the offerings, all the
presentations.
Say that again.
The presentations.
Yeah, all the presentations, but we had to approve them so that we could be sure that we got stuff that was not overlapping all the time. And that was a very interesting experience, because you had to be very, very organized and correct in making sure that there was something for everybody. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I do remember that one thing that we started also during that period when I was on the higher end of the board, so we had evaluations, and we always went through the evaluations to see what we could improve and what we couldn't improve. So I worked with that a lot. Yeah.
So also back towards when you were president, and also when you came on the board with Michael Kraft, that was a time that the Sunshine TESOL Journal started around back then. Have you got any memories from the journal time?
I remember that Candice Harper started it. And she had other people helping her proofreading, and there were a lot of, double checking to see. But Candice did a wonderful job with that. I really always enjoyed seeing her working on it. And the first numbers I thought were very successful. But then there was a break somehow at a later time where we had problems having a steady inflow of materials to put into the journal. But we have always had a fairly, I think, good printed journal. And then we got in later on to, that was a Nova person that did that, a gentleman, and I will have to think of his name. He started the electronic one. And in the beginning, that didn't really catch up, because this was in the beginning by all organizations, educational organizations, where electronic, what's that? How do we figure this kind of stuff out? Where do we get the information and so on? Right. But then it worked. And we even put the messenger on electronic then also, to save money for one thing. And also at that time, he had a Spanish name, yeah. I worked with him at Nova. He was in the education for bachelor's degrees. He was doing a lot of stuff there. My job at Nova at that time, because I worked for Nova for nearly, 26 years in ESOL. But that was in the master's program. Yeah, so that was a good job. I enjoyed that job. Into my brain, when I have a clear brain, I have a lot of history too.
That's why you're so important.
Yes, I was on the board. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, Tony, it's been a real pleasure, and I'm glad it's worked out so well.
And you look after yourself, and we'll talk when you're back in Florida, okay?